God wants a very quiet, meek, submissive servant heart. And when it's all about yourself, it is very hard for God to bless that. So my advice to these women, speak more on being submissive, cooking food, being a helpmate, being a future wife and a mother. But the reason a lot of these women don't do this subconsciously is because that's belittling to them. That's, oh, I'm so much above it. It's feminism, guys. It's Christian feminism wearing a John 3:16 cross. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Christian
Faith
YouTube channel, guys. We're sticking to a new spot every location, at least for a few more, and then we'll probably rotate them all. We're outside our buddy's house, guys, so you're gonna have to excuse that audio because there is a beautiful, huge water fountain sprinkler mabob making that beautiful noise. So with that said, guys, in today's video, this one's gonna be more tied on women. Mallory's gonna be pouring into you guys a lot. The last one was on your Paul arc, what to do if you're single as a man, building yourself up, growing in your spiritual authority, finances, physicality, and this one is gonna be on your women arc, or as Mallory likes to say,
the Ruth arc. Before I start, I just want to note that this is actually the same place right over there that David proposed to me. It was a joking proposal because we actually did it a day and a half after we got legally married, because that wasn't until we got the rings.
Mallory really wanted it for memories and stuff, so it looks completely real. I'll maybe put up the photo here. It was right there. I got on my knees and was like, hey, I know you know this, but like, do you want to be my wife? She was like, really, me? And then here we are.
Yeah, all fun stories. But without further ado, like David introed, I wanted to be able to talk about our Ruth era as women. I specifically like to use the example of Ruth for a number of reasons that I'm going to get into, but I primarily wanted to separate from this idea of the Proverbs 31 women. I see a lot of women on social media refer to that being almost the only blueprint for women in their single season or preparing to be a wife, or even while being a wife. And this is kind of a topic for a different video, but what I hate seeing is like they will use that to justify kind of being someone that's just like very feminine, following in this like self-care, self-idolatrous, like living a life about self. But we see all throughout the examples of women in the Bible, and even Proverbs 31, that they are primarily focused around mission, which is to be a wife and to be a mother onto kids. So again, topic for another video, but when you see all these content creators saying, oh, Proverbs 31 woman, my day in a life, but it's like Pilates, you know, their 8-step skincare routine, you know, the self-love thing, and then they have a Bible study here and there. That's actually more of your daily routine with Jesus incorporated, which is fine. But again, I want to be able to exhort you women further on what in detail our waiting season or season of singleness should actually look like. Again, it is not about self-worship. It's not about self-idolatry. It's not about you be your best woman and passively wait for the man to come just for him to serve you at his feet. So to wrap that all up, that is why I really like to share the story of Ruth, because for those of you guys who don't know, from the get-go, Ruth was somebody who had a choice to either stay in a land that she was comfortable with, where her family was, where they worshiped the gods that she knew of her whole life, or she had the option to follow her mother-in-law, who was a part of the Jerusalem Israel tribe, right? And she told Ruth, please stay with your family, because Ruth's husband, the mother-in-law's son, had already died. She's like, stay with them, stay with where it's comfortable, stay with where it's familiar. But Ruth refused. She said, no, I am going to go to your land. I'm going to worship your God. I'm going to submit myself to serving you until the rest of my life. So she goes into this unknown land, very scary. I think that's representative of the first step that God will take you in your season of singleness as a woman. He is going to remove everything that is comfortable for you, everything that is familiar, and it's going to be a test of, do you really want to go down this path of discipleship? Are you truly fit to become a future mother or a future wife? And again, Ruth passed that, and just to summarize the whole story, that's what opened the door for her to then meet Boaz, which, long story short, was in that family of her mother-in-law. So she was legally, in Jewish culture, able to then marry that man who was a king of very wealthy status. But again, her ability to be married into that wealth, to then be taken into marriage again, was all dependent on her obedience onto God.
So one thing that I noticed, guys, with this quote-unquote like single girl Proverbs 31 era is that a lot of it, not all times, but a lot of it, it's feminism in disguise, or there's a very strong hint of feminism. And what I mean by that, guys, let's just define feminism. Feminism is really the idea that I don't need a man, right? Now, I know these women are not necessarily going to come out and say it, but you notice a particular theme, guys, with a lot of their stories or a lot of their day in the life, it's completely self-centered. And the problem with that, guys, is you're not going to prepare yourself for marriage. The whole point, or at least a huge part, and this is really what they don't even speak about, of being a Proverbs 31 woman or getting yourself ready for that, is to be a future wife and mother. And guys, I've seen quite a bit of these videos. They never speak on this. You see, when I was speaking about my Paul arc as a man, that was all to get ready to have the foundation set for a future wife. It was not to have the foundation set so we can just live for ourselves. That would defeat the whole purpose, guys. And I understand Paul was single and celibate his entire life, but you know what I'm talking about. Getting yourself ready to be able to provide and protect. So for these women, my exhortation as a man is really ask yourself, are you doing this for you or your future husband? And a lot of times, guys, that's a very hard pill for them to swallow because of that underlying feminist spirit. And I don't fully blame these people because that is pervasive throughout all Christianity. I can almost guarantee you in the church you're in right now, there is a feminist spirit. And by that, I don't mean like an actual like honky-dory spirit. I just mean a little bit of leaven, guys, has entered the entire body of Christ. And that is why it is up to us as men in particular, yes, you women, but to be able to crucify that, to be able to acknowledge that, and to then choose to walk in the spirit, fully serving God, being in that submissive helpmate state, opposed to, like Mallory said, that self-idolatrous, just me. God is not going to send you no Boaz in that state.
Really what this whole season of singleness for women specifically is about, there are parallel similarities to men, but again, we're focusing on the women Ruth era right now. It comes down to allowing God to cultivate that servant's heart within you, because that's our whole call as Christians. I say this often, but Jesus himself says, I did not come to be served, but to serve. We look at the whole point of motherhood, of being a wife, that's to be a servant unto man, unto your future kids. And I mentioned the Proverbs 31 previously. That's why we see verses where she talks about how she gets up before the sun even rises. That wasn't to do this 8-step skincare routine and then your Pilates workout. It's because that woman was traveling miles to get the best food, the best water, carrying gallons of water on her back to then carrying it back to her family, so that when they rose, she already had food prepared for the day. She already had the water that they were able to drink and bathe in for the day. It all comes down to hard work. That chapter also talks about how she was charitable, she was hospitable, right? So again, it's not this spirit of me doing for myself, me becoming the best woman.
What the heck? Look at them duckies. What are they doing?
I don't know.
Each other. Sorry guys, look, he's literally beating him up. Hey.
No, that
is he raping her?
The guy, that boy duck is literally still...
Is he raping the other duck?
Oh my gosh.
Are we catching duck rape right now? That's not Proverbs 31 like, Boaz, where are you?
We are witnessing 2 male ducks come on 1 female right now. This is terrifying. No, oh my gosh.
Get away from that duck, boy.
David's attempting to save this female duck.
That is a hard watch, guys. Sorry to interrupt the video with that, but dang, okay.
So as I was saying, Proverbs 31 was also talking about a woman who is charitable, who is hospitable, right? A great way to really ask yourself if you truly are living out Ruth era or this Proverbs 31 era. Are you properly preparing to be a future wife and a future mother? Are you being faithful with what's in front of you? And are you making the effort to be a servant in every possible way that you can? Practically, that can look like serving at your local church. And I don't just mean like ushering at doors. I'm talking about doing the things that no one else wants to do. Doing the things that no one else wants to do in secret and not expecting a reward. That also makes me think of Rebecca back in Genesis. She was able to marry Isaac because she basically passed a test where Abraham's servant came with his 10 camels, and she selflessly offered to refresh him with water as well as all 10 of his camels from a well that she had to go up and down a flight of stairs to get to. That's the equivalent of carrying 200 gallons, more or less, again, to be able to refresh Abraham's servant and his camels. That's hard work, and she wasn't expecting anything in return, but because of her hard work and obedience with something that no one else would have seen, God rewarded her with her husband Isaac.
So something that I've noticed, guys, is that God rewards you. This is actually Matthew 6:6. Jesus teaches us how to pray. He says, go home, pray to your Father in secret so he can reward you openly. There is a very prominent theme online with these like Proverbs 31 Christian influencer, both men but predominantly women, guys. And again, I'm sure they're doing a lot of stuff in secret, but God rewards people or things done in the secret place. When everything is online, it's very pharisaical. It's very like, I'll be honest, I hate to say it, but like pick me girl. Like it's just not something that God's gonna reward. The reason Mallory got married so quickly, guys, and even with myself, is we were both serving the church or serving our pastor in secret for years, guys, and there was zero recognition. And my fear with a lot of these women that are, you know, all in LA and social media Christian creator influencers and having like Jesus freak TV shows is at a certain point you just got to put together the pieces, guys. God wants a very quiet, meek, submissive servant heart. And when it's all about yourself, it is very hard for God to bless that. So my advice to these women is to do two things. Either one, which I'm sure some of you already are, do more of this service with no cameras, with no one to watch, because God sees and adorns that. And then number two, and most importantly, if you are being a Christian creator, which is fine, speak more on being submissive, cooking food, being a helpmate, being a future wife and a mother. But the reason a lot of these women don't do this subconsciously is because that's belittling to them. That's, oh, I'm so much above it. It's feminism, guys. It's Christian feminism wearing a John 3:16 cross. And again, I understand everyone has free will and volition, but God cannot bless that. It's as simple as that. You can do whatever you want, but I do believe there's a reason why these women are still single in like probably their 30s. And again, that's not to belittle them or to be mean. I would actually hope they get married, but you have to understand, guys, if you're claiming to want to get married, your actions have to back that up. I can say all I want. I want to be the super intense man of God evangelist, but if I'm not behind closed doors putting in all those reps, learning apologetics where no one's seeing, what you're saying is not matching your actions. So we love these women. I think what they're doing when it comes to bringing people Jesus, especially with the milk, can be great, but I do believe it's evident the fact that they've been single for so long, it could be potentially because your heart posture is not in the right place.
One practical piece of advice I would give to you single Christian women, and honestly this even applies to if you are currently married, a good way to make sure that you're on that path of cultivating that servant's heart is in everything you do as a woman. It should be for the motivation of, first and foremost, to bring glory unto God, right? In everything we do and say, and in everything we eat and drink, we do as glory unto the Lord, right? But secondly, we should be doing everything for the sole motivation of being a future wife and being a future mom. So I'm just going to paint some practical steps that I did in my season of singleness. I was going down the path of becoming a physical therapist, going to school for that. But then when I was born again, I started to realize that this, although can be very highly successful career in the future, it was not conducive to a future lifestyle of being a mom. Working possibly like 7 a.m. all the way to like 8 p.m., someone else raising my kids. It definitely wasn't conducive to me possibly finding my future husband at a young age. So I laid that down. I laid down a dream that I had from as young as I can remember for the sake of prioritizing my future as a wife and a mom. Secondly, I had the opportunity to be able to take up photography and videography jobs that would have paid me very well, that would have opened the door for me to travel all around the country for years, but I turned that down to be able to work part-time as a nanny. One, because that gave me the freedom to continue to serve at my local church because I was working locally where I was living in San Antonio. But secondly, that allowed me to gain experience for motherhood in the future. It's going to determine based off what God specifically has called us to do, right? God led me to drop out of college, and that was very scary, but I did it because, again, I realized the career that I was wanting or even getting a degree wasn't conducive financially or time-wise for a future marriage. Secondly, I was obedient to when God led me to start an Instagram, preaching the gospel, but that wasn't, again, surrounded around me fulfilling this selfish, idea of being a content creator, of vlogging my life. I was literally filming and posting very convicting, straightforward messages to people, really calling out lukewarm Christians. And because of that obedience, that opened the door for my husband about a year and a half ago to follow me. And then as well as open the door for in October of last year, for us to start talking. Then we got married a few months later. So to wrap it all up, my biggest exhortation for you women is to work heartily as unto the Lord, but always lead with the motivation of what is conducive to me being the best wife and future mother, because that's our reasonable service as women. God wouldn't give us the ability to be able to bear children or to be able to be a helpmate unto man if we weren't called for that.
We'll finish it there. Have an amazing day. We'll finish it with the one plug, guys. If you feel led to gift into this ministry so we can continue to exhort other Christians unapologetically, guys. Yes, we love everybody, but we're not afraid to call things out. You guys can always gift into the ministry below. Or Mallory and I offer discipleship coaching. Mallory for women, myself for men. If you really want to become a future wife or a future husband, or really put down our selfish desires and genuinely pick up a cross, not living for man, but unto Jesus. Thank you guys. Have an amazing day. We love all you. Till next time, much love. Peace.